So far we've seen how let's say typical workflow would look like, and whenever we think we are ready with our domain, we would like others to use it. And one way to do that is to compose multiple languages. And I would like to show you a way how it can be done. First on the UI, and then, if we have time, a small plugin example. So we will use the state machine we built as a library in a mother project. So let's start on that. We will create a new project. Let's call it signal machine. And luckily the default content of the deployment has the signal flow system, so we will abuse that model. And our first step to brought in the library is that we, in the object browser, we right click on the root node where we can select the add library. Here we have to give a unique name, and then we have basically two options. One is that we use an exported package, project package, or we can use the actual URL of the other project. So let's do that. We just simply copied it. And voila. So the whole content of that project is now used as a library in our new composed project. As you can see, there are a few things that immediately show up in the part browser. So here you can see that the namespace, or we call it full name, so namespace and then the name we used in the state machine. So that way you can differentiate between your own language elements and the library language elements. If there are too many elements, there's an option that you can just list the names of the nodes, but basically the drag and drop will work as the same. And you can select if you just want to see the objects or the elements of a given namespace. So once we have the library, we also have everything, as I said, that was there before. So even the examples, and as you can see from the logs, they are read-only ones, so we are not able to modify them. But if we would update the actual library model, like removing this state machine, then we would have the option to update it with a single click. It enables the refresh button because it detects that the library is an actual project, so it can follow that branch and check if there is anything new there. So that way we don't have to give again the URL or the package. It will not update. So anyhow, it would update it. If not, you know how to write a GitHub issue and we will fix that. The other portion we would like to highlight with this library is that you're not only able to use it. So for example, if I go up in the composition, as we was seeing, the elements of the library already became available, so I can instantiate them, I can use them. But when you want to compose your languages, you want to extend your language definitions. So let's say we would like our primitives in this signal flow language to be able to contain state machines. To do that, in the usual way, we brought in the state machine element, it again shows that you are not able to modify that given element, but you are able to use it to define new rules for your own language. So let's say that the state machine can be contained in a primitive. And then if we go back to the composition, and we should have an example here, this means that once we are entering a primitive, we are able to create a state machine here. And as you can see, because all the wallet plugins, all the decorators, everything was set up in the library, they are already available for us to use in this new project. I hope, and yes, it works as well, because the UI will actually check within the context what would be the best namespace to execute that given plugin. So it will execute the associated code generator plugin within the FSM namespace. So we didn't even have to modify anything in our plugin to be still functional. And if we go inside, okay, let's not go inside here, but let's say we copy here our example, and if we go inside, the visualizer also works. So we can say, oh, so that's how on the UI you can leverage the library function, and you can use any number of libraries. If the state machine would have another imported library, it would show up here, and you can use the associated tools from that as well.
Can you show when you invoke the plugin from the default play button in the left corner?
Yep.
That'll
Yeah.
list.
So if the UI notices that you're using namespaces, then when you start up, it will add the global configuration to your plugin, stating that you are allowed to say that, okay, use the FSM namespace, or don't use any namespace. Probably if we say that don't use any namespace, it will not function as we would like. Yes? But the point is that, as you can see, by default, it selects the namespace that the plugin is originated from, or basically the context node, the meta type of the context node is originated from. So right now it says the FSM. And if we execute, yeah, we can see the same artifacts that it created in the FSM project itself. All right. So now, so we will not have time for it, but in the code example, you can see a way how actually you can write a plugin that uses a plugin from a library. So there are different ways how you can manage it, but basically, again, it means that your boundary plugin would select proper namespace for a library plugin, and then it's able to execute it, and it's able to use its artifacts. So that was all for libraries.